Hello everybody. While the Bathurst 12 hours may be taking place in real life, we've got some action here on iRacing for you. 90 minutes of racing around the Bathurst Mount Panorama circuit in New South Wales with a 40 car grid of GT3 cars ready to race around the 6.14 kilometre circuit down under. Well, hello everybody, I'm Adam Bath, joined sooner or later by Sam Fitzpatrick. He'll be joining us towards the end of this 15-minute qualifying session that we've got for you at the moment. And we have got two classes to keep our eye on with a multitude of GT3 cars throughout the fields. There is the front straight, which the cars will be going down to get the race underway. It's not just a 90-minute race that we'll be looking forward to as well. Due to the new day to night transition that we've got here on iRacing, we are going to be going through the 12 hours thanks to the accelerated time. Believe the race will be starting in darkness, and then the race will be ending in daytime, similar to how the actual race in real life gets underway. Speaking of which, there's 10 hours and 37 minutes to go in the Liquid Moly Bathurst 12 hours, and hopefully you're doing what I'm doing and have got the stream for that race on as well, and watching the action all unfold here on Apex Racing TV. We'll get the qualifying times up for you now as we enter the second half of the qualifying session, and as you can see, it's Dave Clements that is currently sat on the provisional pole time. His best lap time is a 2 minutes 02.435, with Dave Baker in second, Bob Boland in third for CMR Esports, Dion Phillips fourth, Adam McNally in fifth position. Then it's Dave Jansen, Kobe Clace, then Brian Loynes, Marcel van der Linden, and then Robbie Carden-Duff in 10th place, and that rounds out the top 10. We'll get the timing there. We'll get the session time for you on screen as well. There you go. 8 minutes into the qualifying session, and there is the front straight as Dave Baker in his CQR club car. Let's get in on him. He comes across the line now to put in a 2 minute 2.53. Just that's his personal best. His last lap time was a 2:02.776. He's heading down the mountain straight now. So who better to go on board with a lap than the BSRTC champion of Season 7, Dave Baker, as he goes into Turn 2. That's Quarry at the bottom of the hill. Now going up towards the cutting. On board with Dave Baker here as he gets up to the cutting now. Could be a potential overtaking point on the circuit. We see it so many times in the V8 Supercar Championship, as into 13th place goes John Roberts. King of the mountain, in fact, is John Roberts. He won a special event similar to this, but in a Kia Optima, I believe, around this circuit a few years ago. That looks like it's none of that's gone out there, and a few other times have been put in there too as well. While I've just been saying that, I think Benga Light may have been one, as Dave Baker flies down the S's. Here's the dipper. Got to be so committed through there. You've got to preempt the corner arriving. Now through into Forest Elbow. Again, a potentially key overtaking point on the circuit. But maybe the drivers will be focusing about what's coming up now, the Conrod Straight, the longest straights on the circuit, which features the Chase as well, which the scene of quite a few big crashes along the way in many series of the V8 Supercars Championship. Roberts has just been displaced there by Ross Nicholson. Another personal best time getting put in there as well. That looks like it was Pat Gallo in the Redback racing car. Has just put in a 2:03.8, and you can see that Bob Boland is back on the circuit. Also back out on the track is Dave Clements in the Redback racing team. He's currently on provisional pole, as you can see. It'll be interesting to see if he can improve on his time. But what about David Baker though? He's coming through the final corner now. A few green sector times, but this may have been just been an outlap for him. Oh no, it's not his fastest. Dave Baker goes into provisional pole, 2:02.165. CQR club car doing a fantastic lap. We were on board with him for it, and he's currently right at the top of the timing tree. So fantastic lap time from him. What's Dave Clements got in response? This is him. He's on his flying lap now. Going on his way down the hill into Forest Elbow. Redback racing team. Now 3/10 of a second behind Dave Baker. Looking at his sector times, he set a personal best in Sector 4. If we can get the track map up, you'll be able to see where everybody is out on the circuit. Trackers are very, very busy. Through the Chase. Hard on the brakes into the chicane now. 2:02.435 was his personal best, and that was on his last lap as well before he returned to the pits. Is this going to be a lap time that puts him back onto provisional pole? Through the final corner he goes, through Maurice, excellently done there. Is this good enough for pole position? Gravels goes into 16th place. It is not. A 2:02.727, 3 tenths slower than his previous personal best, but he's going to carry on again, and now he's got some traffic to deal with as well, one of which may be his teammate there in the BMW, second in class in the blue category. That may have been. Dave Baker is being shown us off the circuit. There he is on the Conrod Straight. He's returned to the pit lane now. Bob Boland is on an out lap. Here he is in the CMR eSports car. The blue car, the blue numbers down the side, I believe the Pro category. I will double check for you on that one. I do have the YouTube chats open, so feel free to send a message. I will read it, I promise you, during the course of the evening. And we'll see what Bob Boland can do as he gets underway on his flying lap now. He's got a car up in front of him to get by. Don't know why it says Kobe Class is in 5th place, but I don't know why it says on the timing tower 3. That may be interesting. He's in the Dynamo racing car. He's just returned to the pits and come back out again, as you can see, as Bob Boland comes into the cutting. Car 26. CMR Esports. Got an iRating of 2:4.81, and as you can see from the lap times, he is just under a second away from Dave Baker's provisional pole time. Fastest of the blue class is Team Scotland's Robbie Karen Duff. Also in that class is Apex Racing UK's Jamie Fluke, World Championship licence, and he'll be focusing on the qualifiers as well. Flying through the dipper, hits the wall as well. Bob Boland. Don't know if that's going to hinder him at all, or maybe hinder his lap time as he gets on the brakes. Chris Moretta saying that the Kobe Place is being shown up as prism free. So yeah, your guess is as good as mine, as Bob Boland comes down Conrod Straight now. Safety cars out in real life in the Liquid Molly Bathurst 12 hours as well, for a car off at McPhillamy Park if you're watching. Big spin as well, as on the brakes Bob Boland into the chase. 2:02.903 for him is his personal best. Did a 2:03's dead on his last lap, as Dion Phillips goes up to 6th with a 2:02.997. In 10th place, Markel van der Linden going into 10th. The Atomic Motorsport car doing a 2:03.63. Bob Boland comes across the line now, does a 2:03.0, but that was on his previous lap, of course. May have scraped the wall and may have picked up an off track on that lap, which may have hindered him there. Going up into 18th place is Michael Muller in the Phantom 71 car. I believe he might have just... oh, there he is, going for the first corner. 2:04.156. He's blinking in and out. There he is. Living up to his name there, you could say. It is Sam Fitzpatrick that joins us. Have you been there for a while? Or have I just been avoiding you? Scott Newton asking on the YouTube chat where Jamie Fluke was. He flashed his position up briefly. He's in 28th place. Late lap time for Matthias Dertige in the Sim Racers World car. A familiar name for viewers that have watched our Sim Racers World GT Championship series on a Thursday night. In fact, this series is heading to this track next week. This Thursday, in fact, as here comes Dave Baker. He's on the provisional pole. 2:02.165. Can he improve on his time? He's one of few cars that remain out on the circuits. Over the line he goes, and he does a 2:01.933. He breaks into the 2:01s. Dave Baker putting in a fantastic final lap. He didn't really need to go much quicker. Nobody else was going to trouble him. But the CQR Club car maintains his pole position and it extends his lead over everybody else.
Yeah, that's a incredibly good lap time. Half a second there.
Oh.
Well, that will, I think that's everyone gone actually in this session. Of course, I don't know if you've talked about it already, Adam, but one of the biggest things about this event is that we've got the 8 times day-night transition. So, of course, 1.5 hours will be equal to 12 hours, as the real-life race, of course, is in length. And that means that we're actually recreating the start and end time. So, going to start at 5:45 in the morning, and then end at 5:45 in the evening, of course, and with the same date as well. In fact, one day, no, it is the same date, apologies. Yeah, same date as well, so exactly the same sunrise and sunset times. So, yeah, a little bit of deja vu, hopefully, for a few drivers out there. Of course, very similar cars as well. But one of the things about this, with this accelerator time, is the fact that the conditions change so quick. The track will go from about 20 degrees to 40 degrees in a matter of minutes, and it should be a very interesting one.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We've got the Porsche cars listed for you there. We can run you through the grid now as the night started to close in. Looks like the race is starting in sunny conditions. The V8 Super, not the V8 Supercar, the actual Bathurst 12-hour starts under the cloak of darkness, and then the sun gets up as the race goes on. But we are now going to be gridding up, and we can get the starting grid on your screen. That's not the grid, that's the race info. There we go. It's Dave Baker starting on pole, half a second ahead of Dave Clements in the end. Dave Jansen in third with Bob Boland in fourth with the Isle of Man flag. That's now 2 Isle of Man drivers I now know, alongside Josh Thompson. Good to know. Matthias Dettige starting in fifth, with Kobe Klass starting in sixth in the Dynamo Racing car. One of the guys in the YouTube chat pointing out why he's called free. Dion Phillips in 7th, then it's Marcel van der Linden in 8th, Atomic Motorsport, then Adam McNally 9th and William Bush rounding up the top 10. 11th place on the grid is Pertti Karolainen with Ben Galit in 12th. 13th place is Pat Gallo, and then 14th Brian Loynes. 15th for Peter Growls, and then Paolo Martins in 16th. Robbie Carenduff, the first of the Porsches, starting in 17th with Ross Nicholson in 18th. Muller in 19th and 20th John Roberts. Ben Mears in 21st, 22nd for Jose Borges. Stuart Musselwhite in 23rd. As you can see, a lot of Sim Racers World cars represented tonight. It's a bit of a practice for those guys as well, with their championship heading here on Thursday. Then it's Pete Petruzzi in 24th, and then 25th Sergio Oliveira. Mark Dial in 26th for local driver, and then Sergio Souza 27th, and then we've got a whole load of Porsches. It's Jamie Fluke, then Cedric Bolland, John Manley, Raoul Huben, Barry Aarons, Michael Blake, and Sam Kumo. We saw him there with a late lap time in there. And then the Welshman Lee Deemer. He'll be happy after the rugby result last night. And Pedro Braganza in 36th. And cars that didn't set times. Josh Rayfield, Perkis in 38th. 39th is Jody Wilkins, and Marco Barbanera, an Apex Racing TV colleague, starting at the back in 40th place as the field begins to roll away here as we get set for the 90-minute race with a day-to-night cycle to begin, Sam. Well, safety cars coming in. I'll leave your that being your call. We'll wait and see what this is going to happen then. Cars trying to catch up on the right-hand side of the grid. This is going to be a bit of a messy start because we're waiting for them to get going. Through the final corner we go then. Green lights are on. And the 90 minutes of Bathurst here on Apex Racing TV are underway. But yeah, you are right, the race does start in darkness, but it's starting in the daytime here, so we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen as the field races up the mountain straight for the first time. It's Dave Baker from Clements, then Bob Boland, then Dave Janssen, Matthias Dettige, Kobe Klaas, Dion Phillips, McNally, Van der Linden, and then Coralina running up the top 10. Porsche class going through, no, that's not the Porsches, here's the Porsches, it's Jamie Fluke, followed by Cedric Bolland. It looks like a clean start for these guys as well as we race up the hill. Raul Huben's made a good start in the Porsche class. He's up one position to third in class. There's John Malley, Barry Aarons, and Sam Kumo's made a decent start as well. He's up one place there as Pedro Braganza in the Mercedes tries to fight his way through the Porsche class in the early going. Look at that, that's a close battle there. That's Raul Huben trying to take on John Manley in the early going in the Phantom 71 car. Positive Energy Racing's Huben holding on for now as we go through the cutting and towards McPhillamby Park for the first time. Meanwhile, here are the GT3s plunging down the hill into Forest Elbow. Here's Bob Boland, a driver that's made a good start in this one. The CMR Esports car got past Dave Janssen at the start in the Phantom 71 car, but Janssen wants that place back. And as we go right on board with the Mercedes, plunging down the Convos straight over the crest, but as we can see from the chopper here and going into the chase, Boland hasn't had to do much defending so far. It looks like Janssen will have to do a lunge here if he wants to get by, but you can see there that Bob Boland pretty much nails the braking point and is able to hold on to his place inside the top three. But we're coming through now to the final corner to Murray's to complete the opening lap, and it's going to be Dave Baker for the CQR Club that leads, followed by Dave Clements, then Boland, then Janssen, Klaas, Phillips, McNally, Dettige, Galite and Coralinen as we come across the line. Michael Blake. Question on the YouTube chat for you, Sam. Who are the favourites in each class? Well, I'll stick one in for the Porsche class, as we look at this train for the second place. Jamie Fluke, World Championship licence. I believe he's competing when I spoke to him in Northern Ireland last week. Apologies, Jamie, if I've got this wrong in any way. I believe he's fighting for the new iRacing World Championship, which is going to be in this very car, and he's doing a good job at the moment. I know it says he's in second, but I think an issue with the project has included Robbie Carenduff, who is definitely not in a Porsche. So if you take that out of the equation, it was Jamie Fluke leading with Cedric Bolland in second as he goes through the dipper here. But what about favourites in the GT3s? We've probably got the favourites at the front right now at the moment. Oh, crash. Well, we're going to find out what happened. This is big because this was in the fight for second. We last checked in. This is through the chase. Dave Janssen was trying to get by at this moment a lap ago. Boland's going to miss his braking point and just clatter into the back of the second place 55 car. Nothing that Boland could do. Well, sorry, not nothing that Boland could do. Nothing that Janssen could do as well. He got caught up in all of that. He didn't pick up too much damage, it looked like. But he's going to get going again. And he's down the Audi. I say he hasn't picked up damage. He's being shown as turned back to the pits. Is something going to happen a bit further on? Not too sure. He's going to spin again in the final corner. Is he going to get hit by somebody? He does. Oh dear. And that's really unfortunate. We might have to go back and have a look at this again from his onboard, because This is not gone well at all for him. We'll have a look at it again. This is from Boland, but we're going to cut to Janssens on board with Phantom 71 car. On the brakes he goes, he sees Boland, misses braking point, tries to avoid Clements, but just goes straight into the back of him, gets clipped there, and then gets turned around. Do you reckon that could have had some lasting damage, Sam, and it resulted in him swinging in the final corner? We'll wait and see here. Bob Boland came back out onto the circuit, but I think he may have just towed back again. Not too sure on that, but yeah, Bob Boland having a good run in the early going, but yeah, fantastic scrap going on here. 3 cars duking it out. You can see there that it is William Bush leading the way around. Then it's these two, Brian Lyons and Marcel van der Linden in the Atomic Motorsports car. Let's go on board with him as we go through McPhillamy Park, one of the toughest places on the circuit, followed by Brock Skyline. Then the S's got a great run through there, the Atomic Motorsports car, the Dutchman. I plunge down the hill again into the dipper. We saw how good David Baker was through here. Got to be so committed on that inside line, and now through to Forest Elbow. Van der Linden's lost 2 places since the start of the race. You can see the 2 positions he's lost right in front of him. First of all, he's got to get past Brian Lyons, who's had a very good start. He's gained 5 places since we got going here, and William Bush after that, as I think we've had a crash out on the circuit. It's Ross Nicholson. Ross Nicholson might have clouted the barrier somewhere. Here we are. Here's the Sim Stickers car going into Forest Elbow. He's already got a bit of damage on the front right. In he goes. Oh, offline, spun, and then gets hit. Oh. Nope. Yeah, 24th place overall for Jamie Fluke, leading the way comfortably in class. Gregory of Ranks, a Sim Racers World regular, as is in the YouTube chat, just commenting on on Kobe Class, who is doing well. He's up in 2nd place, in fact. There he is. The Dynamo Racing driver, doing it well in the BMW. One person on the YouTube chat asking about why the headlights are on. I believe, even though we're coming towards the end of the daytime, they're usually a permanent fixture on these GT3 cars. They do get to flash them as well, just so the drivers in front can see that they're there. But we're always told, aren't we, Sam, that even if the driver's flashing away relentlessly in the mirror, there's not much that the drivers definitely don't take any notice of it really at all. Oh! Oh! Yeah, that is a replay. Collided with one of the Porsches as well. It wasn't Marco Barbanera, that's for sure. It may have been John Manley, it is. And he may have picked up too much damage. Yeah, he has. No way is he getting the Porsche down the hill there. Very nearly collides with one of the other ones coming by as well. Look at it, he picks up more damage. And the poor Phantom 71 car, it's definitely not been a good evening for them so far, with Dave Jansen having to tow back to the pits. Manley becomes the second Phantom 71 car to have to make a visit to an unscheduled visit to the pit lane. And looking at the damage, it could be there for quite some time. These Porsches, they look like they're probably not made as strong a stuff as some of the GT3s, could you say? Brian Loynes has become the latest car to crash out of the circuit. That's not the incident. Here is the replay. This is at the cutting. Sim Stickers Racing. What's going to happen here? We've saw if it's the incident that I think we're going to see. Oh, it is. Clip the inside wall. It's some. Oh, and oh dear. That's another car getting involved as well. That was Dave Clements. Oh dear me. He can't catch a break at all, Dave Clements. Here's a replay of what happened here. Oh, he's already had the crash. We'll rewind back. It literally couldn't have picked a worse possible timestamp, because it was about he was there half a second later. Then he would have towed back to the pits, Brian Loynes, and Dave Clements wouldn't have seen him at all. But he was there, and the Aussie now has had to tow back to the pits for good now. What a disaster for him. There you go. Sorry,
comment.
We can hear you now.
Hooray! Yes.
It's just Sam Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
I don't think that's been the case for the whole time. I think that's only been a few minutes. So, well, I hope so at least. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, just shots back to Dave Baker. Still 9.5 seconds ahead, and setting a fastest lap of the race that last time around, a 2:03, a low minute 2:03. 10 seconds ahead of Kobe Clace now for Dynamo Racing. Adam McNally is staying pretty close to the back of him. That whole pack come from about 4th to 10th at one point. Has kind of spread out with all the incidents that we've seen as we see a big crash there for Roberts. And is this live? So
yeah, this is live.
Oh.
Well, another Ferrari off. This is on the exit of turn 2. That Ferrari is absolutely toast. It's getting toasted in the boosted car as Roberts simmers away. He's going to reverse. What are you doing, man?
Oh dear.
And that's Jamie Fluke, the class leader in the Porsches. What a disaster. Well, that was inadvisable to say the very least. And poor Jamie Fluke, here's a replay of it. He's going down the mountain straight, minding his own business, and Sammy's going to see a smoking Ferrari reversing right into the path of him.
No chance there for Jamie, and yeah, just a little bit clumsy there from John. Credit to Jamie, he actually towed back to the pits. He could have continued from that. Like I said, the bonnet damage, not necessarily too bad in this car, but he did tow back to the pits because he realised rejoining the circuit from that point would have been very, very difficult. As Dion Fierce is under big pressure now from Matthias de Teege. This bounce has been going on for the entire race, and I think now de Teege is going to get the move done. Phillips letting that one go very easily. So the two Ferraris having a bit of a poor lap there, one much worse than the other, it must be said. De Teege now up into the top 4.
Poor John Roberts. Not going to be looking too good there. We've got quite a few cars now on the injury table, as it were. Got Cedric Boland, Dave Clements, Brian Loynes, Michael Muller, John Roberts, Jamie Fluke, Josh Rayfield, and John Manley, all in the pits. Muscle White is the latest one. He's coming into the pits now. Don't know whether that's because of damage or because this could be a scheduled visit to the pits. We still have got an hour and 15 minutes still to go here but the Sim Racers World is trundling down the pit lane now and comes into his box. We'll wait and see what the pit stop time is, but yeah, pit stop for him. He's in from 20th place.
Yes, and I'm not quite sure. It'll be one pit stop for these drivers. The earliest they can pit in is about halfway through the race, because the no fuel restrictions on these cars can usually go about an hour on whatever circuit they race on. As Corlainen, he's been in the hearts of all the battles. I think he's always had one driver right in front of him, one driver right behind him, and that's still the case, up 4 places from his starting place of 11th. As it gets increasingly dark. This is certainly sunset now. It's coming up to 8 in the evening. And it's going to start getting really difficult for these drivers. So
just to confirm, no fast repairs, am I right in the...
No fast repairs.
Okay. I know Scott Newton was asking. John Roberts saying that his car got stuck in the wall and then decided to free itself. So I'm guessing he must have had his foot flat on the reverse, like pleading with the car to reverse. And when it finally gave way, he reversed into the path of Jamie Fluke. So yeah, poor Jamie. Lee Dima also out of the race, clobbered by GT3 as well, so not too good for him. I do think he's back on the circuit though, as here comes Percy Corlainen getting past Marcel van der Linden here. Good duel between these two, and that is Corlainen in to P7. 4 places gain now. Many of them have been as a result of crashes that have been going on at the time, but a good lap by van der Linden as well, a new personal best you could see there, a 2:04.36. But they're going to go at it again down the mountain straight, Sam.
Yeah, I think this is actually Corlainen trying to defend, but van der Linden just too quick down the straight, and he'll ease his way past into 7th position now, 1 place higher than he started. So very nice move there from van der Linden, and he could be pretty quick actually. On that last lap he was in the 2-minute 3s. Bit of an issue for the race leader on that last lap. Dave Baker was in the 2-minute 6s. That's some 4 seconds slower than what he's been lapping previously. I'm not sure if he maybe hit the wall or something. His sector times seem to be okay now, but just a little bit of a setback for him. But that meant that van der Linden was actually the fastest driver on that last lap.
Matthijs de Tiege having an off-track moment there as he continues his scrap. Here is the view as we descend through the S's. You can see the dipper there, that's where they disappear and reappear again. McNally, just in front, was doing pretty well on the last lap. 5 seconds up the road, I should say. Adam McNally did a 22.43 in the first sector. Fastest first sector of the race so far as the cars vanish behind the trees. There he is. Last time around, the Excite Racing driver did a 2:03.498 as he tries to close the gap on Kobe Klass, who's in 2nd place in the Dynamo Racing Cup. These drivers 7 seconds behind, as you can see from the timing tower, from David Baker, as we rejoin the battle for 4th and for 5th between Matthijs de Tiege in the Sim Racers World Car and Dion Phillips there. Meanwhile,
yeah, of course, de Tiege managed to get that move done, sorry, on Phillips, I was just going to say. But credit to him, that he's managing to fight back, of course, using that slipstream to his advantage. And yeah, he's putting a lot of pressure on currently. Starting to form back these big packs again, actually. And now I've got a 4-car chain between van der Linden, Galit and Corlainen. And Phillips, so yeah. Yeah,
no, carry on. I was just commenting on something that I'm seeing in the actual 12 hours. There's a 2-car wreck at Forest Elbow as into the pits comes Robbie Karen Duff in the Team Scotland car. He's not in the Porsche class, even though it does say that he is. He's racing in a Mercedes today, and he's trundling down the pit lane now, pitting in from 18th place, so towards the back of the GT3 cars that are still running. He's going to stop now. You can see that the artificial light is slowly starting to take over here at Bathurst, Sam, as the sun starts to disappear and we get into the nighttime conditions, and this could be really interesting.
Yes, definitely, and these drivers wouldn't have prepared for this, because, as I said earlier on, was a mistake on my behalf to put it at 5:45 p.m. I believe. I'm not sure if it was me or the UI. So really tough for these drivers, and I certainly do apologise to them, because yeah, like I said, they haven't prepared for this as Martins is off the circuit, and that's a great save really pushing the car hard. Usually when you hit that curb, it's game over, and usually when you have a slide there, it's also game over. But he keeps on playing, leveling up, and Paolo Martin's up 6 positions so far. And, well, you can see he's only half a second behind William Bush still. So he's not going about it the conventional way, but it's working for him well.
Good battle this between the privateer William Bush and the Phoenix Motorsports 987 car as we look at it here, as we go across the line. Dave Baker, you must have heard you, Sam. After putting in that 206, he puts in a new fastest lap of the race, a 2:03.172, to increase his gap over Kobe Class to 7 to 8 seconds now, as Martins goes through the chase. Got a fantastic run here. Could try and set up William Bush going into the final corner. He lets him go. In fact, either that or Martins is not going to make the corner in a month. For Sundays he does. A bit of a slide there as well for Bush in the background. So Martins up into 9th position now. Bush down to 10th. And while it looks like that, the race was, as one of the people said in YouTube comments, was supposed to be heading away from the night time rather than heading towards it. Yeah, I'm guessing we started this race at 5:45 in the afternoon, as opposed to 5:45 in the morning, and in what is of course the heading towards the autumn of Australia here. Of course, we've had the barbecues on the beach in December, and now we're heading towards autumn when the Formula 1 circus is going to arrive in the middle, towards the end of March.
Yes, and yeah, so the sunset and sunrise times are very much like a British winter, of course. So relatively short day. So this is going to be a long hour for these drivers to cope with the night. This is as bad as it's going to get, at least. So, well, I seriously hope that we don't lose quite a few drivers, and hopefully the lap times stay relatively, competitive, because this is not easy for these drivers right now. Anyone who has driven during the night on iRacing without any kind of surrounding light will appreciate how difficult it is. And you can see, if we just ride on board, I wonder, you can see how much visibility these drivers get, and you don't see a whole lot, and if you can follow the driver ahead, it helps you so much, and you can see just a light ahead, and it's guiding Sergio Souza the way, although still running a little bit wide at Forest Elbow. Really difficult for these drivers, but they're doing a very good job at it at the moment.
In comparison, here's our race leader Dave Baker. This is where he's got no one in front of him, as we can see from the track map, he says. I'm trying to get it on the screen. Yeah, he's currently on his own, as you can see. And look at that. Darkness all around. And we'll see if there's too much of a drop-off in lap times. There isn't. 2:03.7 for Dave Baker on that last one. So he's still very much driving in within himself here. And as he comes up through the S's, the light's blinking a little bit there, but things are going okay for him. In fact, he's extending his lead to 8.4 seconds as Sim Racers World, the team that has Matthias Dettige at the wheel here, commenting on how it's going to be very tough for not just the drivers that are competing in this one, for us to call the action as well, as we try to identify which cars are which as they go up the hill.
Yes, absolutely. And I for one dislike night broadcasts a lot, because like the point was made, it's difficult to identify the cars out there, but it's certainly a challenge for them and for us. The drivers really kind of pulling away from one another now. I think in the top 15 there's not a battle within about a second of one another. We do have Peduzzi versus Souza, as did someone just hit the wall?
I heard something crash. And I was looking at the time screen and I was expecting to see Dettige in the wall or something, but oh, that's it. There's Ben Mears, the BMW that was one of the cars I think you were mentioning, Sam, that was one of the few cars that was involved in a battle, has crashed at McPhillamy Park, and that was that's been a trouble spot we've seen throughout the broadcast, and he's now had to tow back to the pits. There's a replay. Yeah. Take it away, Sam.
Unfortunately, I can't see this one.
Oh dear, got clattered into from behind. Was this was it Pat Gallo that may have been the one involved there? Here's a replay. Red Black Racing. This could be a symptom of racing at night. He's following the Automet car. Oh, there's just no way he can go, is there? understeers off into the wall goes Mias, and then bounces back into the path of Pat Gallo. You can see the illuminated lights there on the dashboard. Gallo doesn't look like he's picked up too much damage from that, conveniently for him. But Ben Mias becomes the latest GT3 car to return to the pits and could be there for some time. This is great for the Porsches, Sam, because they're now starting to gradually climb the order in the overall category. You can see Raoul Huben and Barry Aarons, two teammates in the Positive Energy Racing team. They are now 19th and 20th overall, but there is a bit of difference in terms of time between them as they go down the Conrod Straight. 5.2 seconds between those two. You can just see the headlights of Aarons entering the shot as the two Dutchmen head down the Conrod Straight.
Yeah, and Wilkins is still only 4 seconds off those top two. And of course, our colleague Sam Kume is a further 10 seconds back, so about 20 seconds off the race lead. So it's going to be difficult for him to challenge for that race lead. But a podium looking very possible for Sam, currently doing a good job of keeping it nice and consistent out there. I think Korlainen, is he in a battle? Maybe not. No, I don't think he is.
Other cars.
But, yeah, here is Kume, and it's incredible how little light these drivers get. It's difficult just to pick your braking spot. You can see maybe there Kume just being a little bit more cautious on the brake pedal, just identifying where he needs to turn in, and just releasing it again. But certainly out in the lead, the time's really not changing. I think Kobe Klaas has actually got faster as this race has gone on into the night. Of course, the track temperature cooling as well. Still 27 degrees Celsius actually, so still a relatively warm, but anyone who has driven on iRacing knows that the cooler the track temperature, the more grip these drivers can yield.
Another car to fall victim to the night. It's Ben Galite here, and he is crashed at the S's. Another car that may have joined him in the pits is Marco Barbanera, one of our colleagues here. The Italian is, oh my word, had a right switch up on him there, going through a tank slapper going through the cutting of him.
There is a bump there which is extremely difficult to manage with, just through that kink. I wonder if Marco maybe just took a little bit too much of that, or just went over it in the wrong way, and into the wall he goes. So he was looking pretty good actually, because he kept the car clean, but I think that's the end of Marco's day, unfortunately, but still good to see him out there. I don't think we've ever seen him drive on Apex Racing TV, as McNally has an issue from 3rd position.
Well, they're dropping like flies here, and this was something that we warned about, because I don't think we're going to be seeing any daytime action for the rest of this race. And Adam McNally has jumped to the pits. He's crashed. Here's a replay. This was where Marco Barbanera crashed moments ago. The Excite Racing car that was running in the podium. Is that bump again, Sam? Oh dear.
Yeah, if we could just go on board with them, you'll be able to notice the maybe the jolt in the car.
Here we go.
As, yeah, well, it certainly didn't help, let's say. Try to avoid the big bump. You can see him not going right up to the wall, trying to get the small one, and because it kind of flattens out the wider you go around the circuit, and that still caught him out, got a little bit of wheel spin, and into the wall goes Adam McNally. So it just shows how difficult it is out there. That wasn't necessarily down to the darkness, but just the the concentration, and the you can't constantly got to be kind of terrified of the walls and the bumps out here, because it's such a unique circuit and it can catch you up at any moment.
Hope you're enjoying the action here on Apex Racing TV. Hopefully you've got us on alongside the actual Bathurst 12-hour coverage, which is under a full course yellow here at there at the moment. Here though, we're on into the night, and here is Matthias Dertige, who is currently shown in 3rd position. He has moved up a place after the crash involving Adam McNally. Josh Rayfield and John Roberts, I think, are keeping each other company here. I think Rayfield's just overtaken John Roberts, because Roberts has been is out of the race, I think. So Rayfield, who has been a few laps down repairing the damage, is now back and circulating again. As here is Jose Borges. This is a good scrap. This is one of the few Phantom 71 cars that hasn't been in the in the wars today. In fact, the only one I think that's still going. He is in 9th place, a gain of 13 spots for him. He is currently chasing down 8th place man William Bush, who is directly in front of him. And behind, he's got Peter Growell. So this is probably the closest scrap we've got on the circuit at the moment. A 3-car duel over 8th place. Into the pits there, you can see at the bottom of your screen is Muscle White. He's coming into the pits for what I believe is set to be a scheduled stop, as we still have just got under an hour to go here. Josh Rayfield, I think, has crashed again. There he is. He was parked at the side of the road. We just went by him. That is at McPhillamy Park. He has crashed again, the 96 car, and he's already a lap down, and he's at a part of the circuit somewhere he can't really reverse unless someone's coming around the corner. He's hopefully used his relative to good use, and he has, because he's made sure that nobody was coming around that corner when he put the car into reverse.
Yeah, and that's half the incidents you get around here at Bathurst, or maybe even more of them. Incidents that you have no idea that you're about to be involved in until about a second after they occur, because often you can come across cars, but it treats you well there to check that there was no cars coming. Of course, later on in the race, as the field spreads out, there's really not going to be any gaps, but fortunately right now, I think there's about half the track available, because that's the difference between the first place driver, Dave Baker, and probably last of the runners currently, about JD Wilkins and all the Porsche drivers, as we see Paolo Martins into the pits.
Martin's car looked all sorts of all over the place there as he came into the pit lane. Don't know whether you're suffering from any damage. The steering wheel looks pretty straight as he comes down the pit lane now. Into the pits he comes. This could be... We'll stick with him and see what kind of pit stop Tom is going to do. Hopefully it's a regular pit stop for him. One car gets away. That might have been Robbie Carrington. No, it wasn't actually. I lie on that one. It was Ross Nicholson that is back out onto the pit lane in the Sim Stickers car, as Paolo Martins continues to remain in the pit box. The clock continues to tick upwards. We've got past the 20-second mark. Is this going to be fuel and tyres? We'll wait and see. But away goes Paolo. Paolo Martins continues to sit in his pit boxes. The battle now for 7th place rages on, as Borges and William Bush both benefit from Martins in the Phoenix Motorsport car coming into the pits. Here they go. They're coming through up to McPhillamy Park again.
Yeah, Borges ahead of Bush, of course. That's quite a recent move, as we see the Porsche just losing out, getting lapped there by those few GT3s. Borges, Bush and Growls, and Gallo I think is going to be with these guys soon, because on the last lap Gallo was 2 seconds faster than these drivers, so this is undoubtedly going to be a 4-way battle. Borges starting 22nd place. What a good drive it's been from him so far, and of course now he's the head of this train. During these conditions, that's not necessarily the best place to be, because you're certainly lighting up the circuit for the other drivers. Everyone else can kind of just follow you. And so Borges might come under increasing pressure potentially, and Bush and Growls are still within a second of him.
So Dave Clements in the YouTube chat. He is done for the day after, first of all, the contact with Bob Boland at the chase, followed up by the crash afterwards. 11th place man Mark Dial was off the circuit then. He's come back on. Don't know if he's hit anything, but it's worth a replay nonetheless. If you're off at the chase, it's definitely a moment to look at. On the brakes he goes into the chase now. Is it just going to be a case of him running wide on the exit? Oh yeah, he was trying to lap a car, the Porsche there, and the 210, the 010 I should say. That's Marco Barbanera, who is back out on the circuit again after his crash at the cutting. But yeah, that was Mark Dial's small moment there.
Yeah, fortunately didn't lose him too much time. Apparently he's still the 3rd place BMW out there, which is pretty good. You could see that variety.
Indeed he is.
Yes, Gallo is just ahead of him, and of course we've got Kobe Clays in 2nd place, the leader of the BMW. So yeah, they're all doing quite well at the moment, actually, apart from I think one of them which had the crash earlier on. So clearly not too bad a car around this circuit, as Of course, we just checked back in on David Baker. He's only 6 seconds ahead now, and he's just had another poor lap. He's had a couple of these as Dave Baker. He had a 2:06 earlier on. He's just had a 2:07. Let's see what this lap time is. To respond, it does a 2:03, so back on pace. But these couple of mistakes are just losing him a bit of time, and this was how he lost it, just outbraking himself, maybe even locking those front tyres, which is unusual for a car which has ABS, and just shows how difficult that braking zone is, even in these conditions where you got quite a bit of grip out there.
Yeah, uncharacteristic mistake there from Dave Baker. Behind, you can see that he's definitely got somebody behind him. It's not, don't worry, it's not Kobe Class. It's one of the cars he's just lapped. It's Bobby Aarons in the Positive Energy car. He is second in class in the Porsche category. He is 4.6 seconds away from his Porsche teammate Raoul Horban, who Dave Baker is going to be chasing down next. And he is just coming through McPhillamy Park here. So sooner or later, he's going to see the CQR Club car looming large in the mirrors. Fight for fourth and fifth is starting to look exciting. This is Marcel van der Linden that we're looking at. He's got Dion Phillips 9/10 of a second away. Last time around, it was, in fact, I think this is a move that's just happened. I think. Sam,
yes, I think you're right. Yeah, on that last lap.
Yeah, here's a replay then. This was going down the Conrod Straight. And the Mercedes is going to engulf the Ferrari here, going into the chase there. Very illuminated dashboard, you can see that from inside Dion Phillips's car. But on the brakes goes van der Linden, and the Atomic Motorsport car now through into fourth place.
Yeah, he's just been steadily gaining some positions. I remember back when he was in 8th place, and he's just been able to pick off those drivers one by one, because the McNally spin also helped him. And yeah, up into 4th place, got 5 seconds to catch up to Matthias de Teege, and that's probably possible because on that last lap he was 4/10 faster, despite having to make that overtake. Because still back with William Bush, who, has Pat Gallo got past him?
He has, yeah.
Yes, I think he's had a mistake actually as Bush. I think he's lost quite a bit of time because he wasn't far behind Borges, I think, before.
Oh,
but he's lost about 4 seconds.
Yeah, you just saw it then. That was Bush going into the wall and Gallo getting by. Paolo Martins has jumped to the pits as well. Is that a problem for him? I don't think he ever left the pits, in fact. But yeah, that's how Pat Gallo got by. And I wonder if we could be seeing William Bush in the pits in a moment, because that was not a small hit with the wall. And I wonder if he's got any damage. If not that, a meatball flag, as a big crash has just happened in the actual Bathurst 12 hours. Into the pits does go William Bush now, so that's me. He's coming into the pits now, and he could be he's going to drop out of the GT3 field. As you can see, the Porsches keeping their powder dry, and they're starting to climb up the overall classification now. Raoul Horban and Barry Aarons both first, second in class, and Jody Wilkins is in third, with Sam Kumo 20 seconds behind him in 4th place in class.
Yeah, that's been a high quality and high intensity Porsche field so far. There've been some of the few tries who haven't put it in the wall yet. They've got a pretty good ratio of drivers still going on out there, as Van der Linden
is getting held up.
Yeah. As Phillips is right on his tail. So I think these two changed positions on the last lap is really close there with the Porsche. And now this could be an opportunity for first, because the Porsche is so quick down the straight, really does have better top end speed than the GTE. But with the slipstream maybe just being able to pull ahead is Dion Phillips, the Porsche does understeer through this first part of the corner, and that's really lost Phillips a lot of time. And I do feel for him a little bit, because it's allowed Marcel van der Linden to ease away from his rival. The gap was down to about 0.2 of a second. It's now up to 1.7.
Indeed it is. Going for the final corner, Van der Linden got a 1.5 second advantage. In fact, it was such a big gap that it's meant that the battle box has even decided to not class it as a battle anymore. Race order then. We can get their names up for you. There we go. It's Dave Baker leading the way by by quite a bit now. 3.5. I say that the gap is coming down. It was as high as 6 or 7 seconds a while ago. It's now down to 3.6. This gives us a good opportunity to get the graphic up to show how the gap has come down. There you go. It was 9.3 at one point, Sam. It's now down to 3.5 in the space of 4 laps.
Yeah, and it's odd because I genuinely think Baker's got equal ultimate pace to Claes. I think he's just making too many mistakes. We saw like 2 minutes 6, and we saw a 2 minute 5, and on that last lap that was a 2 minute 4. Despite the fact that he seems to quite consistently be in the 2 minute 3s, and earlier on he was in the 2 minute 2s. So yeah, Dave Baker not having it all his own way, and soon he's going to be able to see the headlights of Kobe Claes in his mirrors. In fact, I'm almost certain he'll already be able to see them. And Matthias de Tiege as well has got good pace. He's only 13 seconds off the lead, so if these top two start battling, it could invite de Tiege in with a chance, because remember, we're not even halfway through this event and we've got pit stops to go.
In the YouTube chat, Dave Clements talking about his brother Jason, I believe, who actually hit a kangaroo in the real life Bathurst 12 hours. Don't think iRacing have factored that into the sim just yet, as we approach the halfway mark. Look at Dave Baker there. Just when we were talking about him, he responds with a 2:03 dead, and the gap's back up to 7 seconds again. As there goes Kobe Claes going through the first corner. Hasn't been off or anything, but I think David Baker has just put in a bit of a benchmark there. He says try and catch that, as Claes does a 2:06.0 on that last lap, losing 3 seconds, and that shows that the gap has gone back up again.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just had a small off, maybe just a little bit of an excursion from the circuit, because yeah, 2 minutes 6 is a bit odd. He's been so consistent so far as Kobe Claes, and that's just relieved the pressure that he was putting on David Baker, who was yeah, the gap was down to about 3 seconds, but he's got to try to close that back in now as Claes. But yeah, like I said, with the pit stops, he might be able to work some magic there. And then further down the field, Petrucci and Souza still relatively close to one another. Haven't seen too much of this battle so far, but a second between them currently. I think the lead for Audi is Petrucci, not a GT3 car often used, unfortunately, these days. Apparently it's got some good pace in it. Last year it was commonly used in the World Championship Series, but this, a lot of the amateur drivers, the non-pro drivers, weren't using it too much. I think it's a very difficult car to drive, but so far Pete has done a very good job, and he's been able to hold back Souza for quite a few laps now.
Yeah, I remember the time when the Audi was the go-to car back in the days of GT3 racing here on iRacing. I also remember the same being said for the McLaren MP412C GT3. That was some time ago. I remember when me and Andrew Woodhouse did we foolishly thought we could get in the Blancpain GT Series Pro Series, what is now known as the, I believe now is known as the VRS GT Series, and yeah, we fell flat on our face there. But the car that we chose to drive in was that McLaren, and it's definitely a once in a blue moon if you see one of those getting raced anymore.
I don't think I was even on iRacing back when the McLaren was quick. I'm thinking mid 2016. From whenever I can remember, it's always been a fast car around Le Mans and Monza, where you got no corners. But everywhere else it's a bit of a poor car. William Bush has had another issue. Was running in as high as 8th place earlier on. He's pretty much gone from this race now.
I think he blew the engine. I heard some sort of explosion down the straight, and that looked like to be the case for him there as he returns to the pits. No going back from that. I think he might be done for the day. I think the same even happened to Dave Clements when he was in the pits getting his repairs done. His engine blew there, and nothing he can do about that. The car was already toast, and the engine blowing as well doesn't help things. 45 minutes and 15 seconds to go then here Mount Panorama in Bathurst, as opposed to 9 hours and 38 minutes or so in the real life race. Hopefully you're enjoying your Saturday night here with us on Apex Racing TV. Adam Bath here with Sam Fitzpatrick. A few Apex Racing colleagues in the race at the moment. Jamie Fluke is one of them that isn't. He is out of the race after John Roberts reversed into him on the front straight. Apologies have been made on the YouTube chat, so I think no issues there for Jamie. Hopefully a bit of testing for him for the upcoming race there. Sam Kumo, he is definitely still in this race. Here he is. He's going through McPhillamy Park. He is in 18th place overall, and if you put that in terms of class, he is currently in 5th with Marco Barbanero, who has been classed as off. And here he is. He's off again. Poor Marco. What's happened this time? That is on the run into the chase, Sam. Don't know how he's going to go off in a straight line here, but he is. Maybe Holwell. Oh, he was on the grass then.
Maybe he's...
Oh dear.
I think... Oh dear, that it must be hardware. Yeah, gone into the wall, and the car's desperate to go into that wall, almost like a magnet. And yeah, Marco, that's unfortunate for him. He was looking forward to this race for 1050 Barbanero Racing, a very successful team, of course. Top split of Daytona, and they've done very well in previous races. May I add, not with Marco in the car, but he sure is a very good assistant slash team manager. And yeah, they've had some very good successes recently, as JD Wilkins just has a bit of an off. Certainly it does seem to be turning into a two-way battle now in those Porsches. Huban and Arams are now 3 seconds between each other. Positive Energy Racing. They have been so far faultless, and they're very close on track, aren't they?
There's a trio of replays for you. We saw the Marco crash. We saw Jody Wilkins getting a bit lost there at the chicane. No, that was Pete Petrucci going a bit wide there, and a spin as well for good measure going through Murray's. And he's going to get going again in the 91 car, but that does mean that Sergio Souza is really up the road now. 16 seconds the gap now as he gets going again. 3-point turn, and away the Audi goes again. And he is really on his own now. I would get the track map up, but I can't seem to for some reason. I'm trying, pressing every button, but yeah, we can't see the track map on the screen. So yeah, he's in 12th place now. Shows you how many cars have fallen by the wayside, really. He had that spin. Nobody else has been able to get near him in a way. Into the pits comes Pedro Braganza. He is behind Petrucci on the circuit. Now the 333 car is in the pit lane. You can also see in the pits there is in the GT3 category. That's Loins, isn't it? He's back into the pits for a second time. But the Sim Stickers car obviously still nursing a few issues, as Van der Linden was shown as going off the circuit towards the end of the lap, and it does mean that Dion Phillips might just be a bit closer than he was prior to that, as this battle continues between Peter Growls in the Atomic Motorsports car, being shown in 8th place currently, and Pat Gallo in the red back racing car 777 in 9th.
Yeah, Gallo on that last lap was half a second quicker. I think on this lap he's been able to take quite a significant amount as Growls comes into the pits, of course, halfway through the race, or just beyond halfway. So I expect plenty of pit stops in the next kind of 15 minutes or so. Everyone would have made a pit stop.
Just had a look at the YouTube chat. It wasn't a hardware failure. That would have spared Marco's blushes, I think, Sam. He crashed whilst clicking on JRT. It's live timing. Other live timing solutions are available, but yeah, that's why Marco crashed for the second time going down the Conrod straight.
Well, they always say don't text and drive, and Marco has been a brilliant example there of distractions when driving, and even in sim racing, it's not a good thing to do. I don't know about everyone else, but I am terrified of something like that happening. Particularly in, you know, like an important race, you know, just looking across at something and suddenly you're in the wall. But yeah, slight mistake there from Marco. Hopefully we'll see him in some more of these future events, at least something like 12 Hours of Sebring. We might do another of these races, as Gallo really pushing it out there. He's behind a lapped car, not sure who that is. I think that is Pedro Braganza, actually.
Yeah, it is,
he's just in front of him. Braganza, of course, just came into the pit, so that's why he's so far behind.
Close battle in the Porsches here. This is over. Oh, I say it's close. This is a Mercedes GT3 trying to get one of its positions back. It's Robbie Karen Duff in the Team Scotland car, fighting his way through. You talking about texting and driving has just reminded me of a road safety policy they used here in Australia for a while. Mate, it can wait. Always used to see it during their the V8 Supercar broadcasts on 7 back in the day. Speaking of which, I think the Bathurst 12 Hours is on 7 here, still on free-to-air TV, as is the Bathurst 1000. Over the line goes Wilkins. Jody Wilkins has got a Mercedes for company here of Karen Duff, and even though the Mercedes is still lapping slightly quicker, it's still having a bit of difficulty trying to find the way past the no-nonsense racing Porsche here.
Yes, it might be wise for Wilkins just to let this one go, because then he'll be able to get into the slipstream. But yeah, of course, Karen Duff, if he has got a little bit of damage on that Mercedes, it's not going to be easy to get the job done. But it's so difficult to pass around this part of the circuit where the GT2s have the advantage. And then down the straight, of course, the Porsche is fastest, but there is a small mistake, and I think this might be the change of position, not quite. Karen Duff just cannot get it done at the moment, going really close to this part of the circuit. Easy just to get yourself dragged into that outside wall, and can carry much more speed. Where you look to the inside into this next one is going to be an ambitious move, but Robbie does get it done. And past Wilkins he goes. Of course, that wasn't even for position. That was a GT3 car versus a Porsche Cup car. But it sure did look very difficult. And Wilkins still 3rd place in that class.
Still 3rd in class, but in terms of overall positions, yeah, that's one gone. In fact, he's got another one behind him now. That's not Pedro. That is somebody trying to unlap themselves. I think 25th place overall. That is Josh. No, it's not Josh Rayfield. I thought it was. I'm just clicking and hoping now, but yeah, that could be somebody else. Here is Sergio Souza, currently shown in 10th position. He is 7 seconds away from Mark Dial, who's a bit further up the road in the Redback Racing team, and Peter Growls is a little bit way behind him as well. Peter Growls has been into the pits. He was in the pits for 19 seconds earlier on, but has got going again. He's at the back end of the GT3 class. Marcel van der Linden has been putting in the sector times. He is he put in a 23.76 in sector 2 on the previous lap, which was the quickest of the race so far. He is 9 seconds away from Matthias Tertige in 3rd, but he has put some daylight between. Well, I say daylight, we're in nighttime conditions. He's put some he's put some time between himself and Dion Phillips, who is currently in 5th, the highest of the Ferraris that we've got in the field at the moment.
If he could make some daylight, then wow, he would be powerful. I think that would need some extreme speed to cause some friction or something to create a spark and some light. But yeah, he is certainly pulling away slightly. But expect that battle, 4th and 5th, to carry on. Yeah, quite intense between those two. Dave Baker is still pulling away. On that last lap, he actually set his 2nd fastest lap of the race, 1/10 slower than his fastest, as we see Oliveira putting it into the wall. We're seeing Jazz really push it round that corner. That's one of the trickiest parts, because it just got offline, and once you get offline, there's absolutely no chance, especially with the marbles inevitably on the outside of the circuit at this point in the race.
Looking here, checking in with our race leader again, Dave Baker, who's put in another fastest lap of the race, a 2:02.47, the only driver in this race so far to get into the 2:02s. Gap now is up to 9.4 seconds as he goes into turn 2 here. Car 6, number that Dave Baker's stuck with since we first started covering him in the BSRTC back in season 6. That was back in 2014. Stuck with the number ever since. I think we made a big deal out of Baker always finishing in 6th place, and I think he's stuck with it since then. I think that's how the story goes. And yeah, he's currently keeping Kobe Clace at bay here in the Dynamo Racing car. Dave Baker, who races in the World GT Championship that we always cover on a Monday night. That's got an off week this week, so it will just be the Ritmatech Sports Car Series action that you see on a Monday night on Apex Racing TV. That'll be back.
And Mazda.
And we've got the Mazdas as well. So
yes.
there you go, Sam. You can tell us about that on a Monday night.
Yeah, that's the Amateur Cup, I think, in the Masters. I'll certainly be tuning in for that now that I'm not doing World GT. Of course, that always collides. And also, of course, we've got the World FD. And if anyone didn't see the World FD on Wednesday, do. It was really good fun. Insane battles, an insanely high quality field. And also on that Wednesday as well, we've got the ILMS and plenty of other broadcasts as well. So yeah, certainly do keep tuned in. I hope this event has brought a few new viewers to the channel. So if you haven't already, of course, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also like our Facebook page as well.
Indeed, yes, some good posts on there.
Oh, there sure are.
Marco maybe made a joke of it, I'm sure, this week at some point, potentially.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking of that, but you've spawned that idea now in my head.
Oh, that was Marcel van der Linden having a little bit of a moment going through the chase. Yeah, I can hear Adobe Premiere or Sony Vegas or whatever getting open right now. So Matthias Tertige puts in a new personal best in the race of 2:02.8. To extend his advantage over here over Marcel van der Linden. So just when it looked like the Atomic Motorsports car could had a mission for the second half of the race to close in on the Sim Racers World car, that gap has been extended again. 2:04 dead on that last lap, as opposed to Dion Phillips's 2:03.8. Could mean that the Ferrari in fifth could be starting to close in a little bit. We can get how the gap has fluctuated between them on screen for you now over the last 5 laps. It times has been 6 seconds or so. It's gone down a little bit.
Interesting that the times are really decreasing now. Second and third on that last lap did 2-minute 2s. So I think it's a combination of the track getting continually colder. The track is now down to 24 degrees, which is quite a bit slower decrease in temperature than I thought. I would have thought it'd be down to 20 degrees quite some time ago. But I expect it to cool down even further from now to now to about 20 minutes before it maybe gets a little bit warmer again. And yeah, these drivers just getting used to the darkness. I must say they are doing a superb job. I know personally I would have been in another state of Australia by now if I was racing out there, but they have done a brilliant job so far with not much visibility and of course no practice in these conditions. Yeah, remarkable how many drivers we've still got, and how well, touch wood, the attrition rate has slowed down a bit.
Yeah, we're in New South Wales. I think you either might be, you could have been in the outback or in Northern Territory or something like that. Bobby, drama in the Porsches, and that is second place. Bobby Aarons has potentially come a cropper here. Oh,
ooh,
and
that's.
See how fuel?
No, he's hit the wall there.
Oh.
He hit the inside wall. That's really unusual. Just a lack of concentration there, I think, from Aarons, and he hit it pretty hard. It wasn't even a skim. He hit it very hard. A corner that you don't necessarily usually go right up to the wall. So a mistake from him, and it was looking really good for a second place. It's almost certainly given the race win now to Hubon.
There it is again. That's very weird. You hadn't even hit the wall prior to that, I don't think. The car looked like it might already be damaged, I think, Sam. Just to the way he was turning right before he even got there. So
yeah, maybe.
Maybe
trying to fix it.
Oh, this might be it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's gone from that point, isn't it?
So a shame for those two. They were 1 and 2 in class, and that little hit there may have only just exasperated things a little bit. And yeah, that is the end of the day for him. I don't know if we'll see him back out on track or not, but it does mean that it is now just we have only got 3 Porsches left circulating. If you take out Robbie Carrendorf there, that is in the wrong class. It's Raoul Hubin that leads. He has got quite a gap back to third place man, but we've got to turn our attention to Dave Baker because he is into the pits. The race leader in. Kobe Glass is going to take the lead unless he comes into the pits as well. And I wonder if anybody else might get by too, as Baker now trundles down the pit lane. Matthias Dertige is off in the final corner. It doesn't look like it's hit anything, but the Sim Racers World Car that had been showing some decent pace has got going again, but he's lost a ton of time there, a chunk of time, as David Baker comes into the pit lane now to get on the fuel, the necessary fuel that he needs to complete the rest of the race.
Yeah, Dertige was giving himself half a chance to maybe fighting for P2 out there, but that's really ruined it, and that's kind of his first big mistake of the race so far. As Baker comes back out, is he in a nice pocket up there? He sure is, ahead of Koralainen and 7 seconds behind Phillips, so that should be a clean few laps for him. Expect everyone in the next couple of laps or so, like I said earlier on. About an hour these cars can usually drive. I wouldn't at all be surprised if everyone who hasn't pitted so far pits in on this time, because of course Baker had such good pace, at least for the majority of this stint, could have well used a little bit more fuel than his rivals.
Dave Clemens just letting us know it is a fair drive to the next state from Bathurst, so
so it would be quite, yeah, it'd be quite an effort for me to reach there. Of course Ben Gregory could have reached there in his spaceship.
I probably got
there you go.
You probably got a decent view of it, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Send us some pictures, Ben. There we go. We're now 1 minute into it. Just intrigued. This is a question just purely on me not knowing too much about the day to night transitions. Can you choose the seasons, or is it just a set? As in, can we have? Is this, for example, set where the nights are very long, or is it just a case where the time that we're in darkness is set for the whole thing?
You can set it to the date, the exact day, and of course it's precise for every single circuit, at least I believe.
Well, this is yeah, this is interesting because I don't know whether it's northern and southern hemisphere or what, because obviously with this being Australia, this is the summer, and obviously the night's going to be very short. As opposed to, say, January in England, where the nights begin at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and the sun doesn't come up till about 8 o'clock in the morning. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I would have thought sunrise. I think I searched it actually. Sunrise is about 5:45, so literally it's going to be right at the end of the race. We're going to see the sun coming back up. Maybe a little bit of light for the last 5 minutes of the race or so. We are currently 2 in the morning. 2 in the morning, 7 minutes past 2. So in the depths of night, as Matthias Dertige comes into the pit, so too does Marcel van der Linden. Van der Linden with a little bit of a long pit stop, but not much difference between the two of them.
Yeah, 19.1 for Dertige, 20.4 for Marcel van der Linden. He's back out on the circuit again. You can see which cars haven't been into the pits and the ones that have been in the walls. Kobe Claes continues to lead, and he's put the hammer down, as it were. The fastest first sector on this lap for the Dynamo Racing driver, 22.26. And he might be trying to find a way of trying to get past Dave Baker here. It's going to be a tall order. He's got to basically eradicate a 9-second gap. You can try and do that by pitting later, therefore not putting as much fuel into the car, or he can put in some blisteringly quick lap times, as he's trying to do now as he flies through the chase and towards the chicane.
Surely this time for Kobe, as just pulls to the side of the circuit, and there we go. Odd pit lane entry here. I believe in the qualifying, because they had external qualifying for the Bathurst 1000 and the 12 hours last year. Drivers were using the pit lane and then crossing the line because you cut so much of the circuit, and it gained you, I think it was about half a second to a second for some of the drivers, and because you can cut that pit lane quite a bit as well. So a lot of drivers did that. There was a bit of controversy about it, but I think they may have fixed it now, and they ought to, as yeah, Claes into the pits, and also Phillips as well. So Baker just going around the final corner, I think, right now. In fact, he's already gone past. That is how far ahead he is. Kobe Claes was about 9 seconds behind. I think he's going to be even more than that now. It's about 10.5 seconds, so he hasn't lost too much time.
10.8 seconds for him there. Dion Phillips is in the pits as well. One driver that's benefited because he hasn't been into the pits yet is Percy Carolina, and he's up to 3rd place. It's going again. Back onto the circuit he goes.
Oh, this is close.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, here is Marcel van der Linden. And this is going to be very close indeed as we go up the mountain straight. Looking to the outside of the Ferrari. This is the fight for 5th. No way through. So van der Linden was about 2 seconds or so ahead of Dion Phillips before the pit stops began. He's ended this pit stop window half a second behind him. So good job by the Ferrari driver. And now he's going to have, his task is to keep the Atomic Motorsport car behind for the final 25 minutes in this one.
Yeah, I was saying before Van der Linden, just having a slightly longer pit stop. Oh, and he's nearly into the wall. That's a fantastic save there from Marcel. That is heroic action from him, and he's only lost about half a second because of it. But like I said before, yeah, he did have a slightly longer pit stop, about 7/10 longer. And of course, he was side by side by the end of that straight, so that 7/10 probably lost him that position. Maybe it means everyone else is under fuel. That's what he'll be hoping for. But I think he's just put in maybe a lap of fuel too much. And well, that could be very costly for Marcel, because we've seen so far today overtaking not too easy. So difficult to follow through the mountain section. And by the time you get to these long straights, you're kind of too far behind.
See the difference in lap times there at the top of the screen. Fastest lap in the GT3 is done by Dave Baker as Percy Carolina comes into the pits now from 3rd position. This could be interesting to see where he's going to emerge out of everybody else. Similar to Silverstone in a way, I think, Sam. But, I don't know if any of the drivers did this, obviously, because we don't have the new scanner Silverstone on iRacing. But if you could literally fly down the pit lane there and cross the start line before
exactly, yeah,
somebody that took Club and Vale. So on the brakes gets Carolina now. Jose Borges coming in as well in the Phantom 71 car.
I really need that new Silverstone, don't we? Hopefully next build, but that's ambitious. I think probably the one after. Certainly whenever it comes out, we will be doing an event. That would be fantastic fun. And undoubtedly one of the best circuits in the world.
I believe the scan's been done. It's just a case of getting it out there.
Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite a big circuit, of course, to complete, but they've I think they've been working on it now for about 7 months, and you'd think it'd be their top priority.
Charlotte Road was done in was turned around in the space of 6 months. Obviously, to get from Boston to North Carolina for the iRacing crew is obviously a lot more straightforward than Boston to Northampton.
They scanned that about 3 times apparently, because they kept on changing the chicanes. They kept on having to go back. That's one of the big issues for iRacing. Of course, the iRacing curse. That's saying about how, you know, they scan a car and then it is not used, or they scan a circuit and then it is changed. And so they've certainly learnt from that, and they wait until the circuit is absolutely permanent and it has no sign of changing before scanning it.
Well, I guess you could say the biggest iRacing curse is poor Oran Park. They scan it and then it gets knocked down and turned into a housing estate or whatever. So, of course, it's perfectly preserved here on iRacing. Yeah, let's take a look at the Porsches, because here they are. Here is our Porsche leader, Raoul Huben, in the Positive Energy Racing car. He is currently in 1st position. Hasn't been into the pits as of yet. The only other 2 Porsches remaining, Jody Wilkins, who is currently circulating here at the cutting, and Sam Kumo, who is keeping him honest, about 1.6 seconds away in fact. So these 2 Porsches, these 3 Porsches are the only ones that are left in the race. Everybody else is done. Bobby Aarons we saw crashing earlier on in the lap, and everybody else, Marco Barbanera, Rollin, Fluke, Manley, Dima and Blake, all falling by the wayside during this one. Over the Sam Kumo!
Oh dear! He was driving such a good race there with Sam Kumo. Oh, and he gets hit again, and who is that? Who has hit him?
Dial, I think.
It wasn't Baker, was it?
No, I don't think it was.
No. Baker's just gone past them.
I think it was just trying to find him on the time screen if I can find him. It's the Redback racing car of Mark Dial. Mark Dial, well that's one of the two, and yeah, he's had to turn back to the pits as well. Disaster for him. We were on board with Sam as he went through the S's. Here is what the Redback racing team came across then. He's coming down the hill, minding his own business, sees the smoke, sees the Apex racing car and tries to duck to the inside, but just nothing he can do. And there is no way that that car is going to get turned around. Here is Sam Kumo from out of the car. We were on board with him. Talk about tempting fate, talking about how many Porsches that were left in the race. Curse of the commentator strikes here during the night, and Sam hits that inside curb and goes off into the wall. I think he is carrying on remarkably, either because there's not too much damage or because he'd rather get back to the pits, because he's literally as far away from the circuit as he can get. But yeah, Sam, that has been a dramatic few moments as Sam has managed to make it back to the chase now.
I think Baker was the next driver through as well. So literally, if Baker was maybe 5 seconds further up on the circuit, he would have hit Kumo, because I don't think there was space on the inside. So that's how that's how on edge you can be around this circuit. And well, this is how he would have seen it. I think the whole crash had kind of cleared up for him by this time. But I think if he hadn't of, yeah, if he was maybe 5 seconds further up, he could have well hit Kumo. Maybe sees the yellow flag at this point, slows down a little bit, and then sees across the right thing. There did Baker, and hasn't lost too much time. Still 8.5 seconds ahead of Kobe Clays. 1 second faster though for Clays on that last lap, but it's been ebbing and flowing for this entire event between those two. It's been a fantastic duel, despite maybe not having a proper wheel-to-wheel battle, as Huban, of course, still absolutely dominating, by far the fastest driver out there in the Porsche field. And him and Wilkins are the only Porsches remaining. It would have been good to see a few more on the grid today. But still, he has been absolutely faultless. And I think certainly watch out for him and Positive Energy Racing when it comes to the 12 hours in 1 week time.
Just going to see if there's a way of overriding the classes for you here. There we go. That's out of the way. That's not us getting confused anymore. Moved the Team Scotland car up into the GT3 class. Robbie Karen Duff. So we now know who's definitely leading the Porsches, and it is the Positive Energy Racing car driven by Raoul Huben. Hasn't been into the pits yet. We should expect to see him in the next 15 minutes or so. And we are now down to 2 Porsches remaining in this one. It is him, and it is Jody Wilkins, who is you can get the intervals up on the screen for you, 56 seconds down the road. Battle here. Battle resumes between Dion Phillips and Marcel van der Linden. 0.2 of a second between these two as we go into the final corner. Ferrari versus Mercedes, hopefully something we'll be seeing in the Formula 1 this season. But for now, it is Phillips keeping the Atomic Motorsport car at bay in what is the closest battle on the circuit as we come into the final few moments of the race, final 15 minutes of the race. And I wonder if somewhere we may just be starting to see the early ebbs of daylight as somewhere on the circuit as we head up the mountain straight again.
I think that might still be a while away, to be honest. It's 3:35 in the morning currently. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of light, and hopefully we'll be able to see the cars as they go across the line at the checkered flag. Phillips is doing a good job. He's barely made a mistake so far in this race, because I've said that about a few drivers, and they have eventually made mistakes, as van der Linden. Kane having a bit of a solo swing. This is where he nearly lost it earlier on. You can see those curves are so large that they can really unsettle the car. It's so difficult around this circuit. A little bit of turbulent air there, a little bit too much speed carried in, and this one maybe a little bit as well. He's risking it on that curve. You don't want to hit that curve too much, and he's certainly not holding back too much as van der Linden, of course, has got the car ahead, so he's got a little bit more visibility with the car ahead kind of paving the way for him.
Just pointing out, it's just pointing out that our Porsche leader Raoul Huben's been into the pits. He's back out again. 10.10 second stop for him. Not too much fuel taken on at all, and he's not had to worry about Jody Wilkins. He's rejoined from his pit stop 32 seconds ahead.
Yeah, those Porsches can go a really long way. I did the 12 hours last year actually in the Porsche, and it can cause quite a few issues because they're not that much slower than GT3s, and they can sometimes pull ahead of them in the race. And of course, with the amount of damage that drivers pick up, you get so much interclass action about midway through the race. Phillips having to go defensive against Van der Linden. Van der Linden goes down the inside. That was a really good dummy, but it hasn't quite pulled off for him. As we go back onto the pit straight, and he's trying out absolutely everything right now. Is Marceau really launching a big attack with 15 minutes of this race to go? But there's just not a way through at the moment. You'll find around this down into turn 2. It's one of the most difficult places to pass on the circuit actually, because it's difficult to really gain too much coming out of turn 1. You can see he'll gain and gain and gain. But he'll only get the gap down to about 0.3 of a second by the time they get into the braking zone.
That wasn't intimidating at all, rising from the rear of the Ferrari of Dion Phillips. Seeing the Mercedes fly towards us and then having a little look at the inside going into Murray's at the end of the lap. Heading back up the hill again, going into the cutting. This part of the circuit here leading up to the S's was where we've seen so many cars fall by the wayside. We've got 13 cars left on the lead lap in the GT3 classes. These two climb the hill again. You can see from the timing screen that the gap between Dave Baker and Kobe Klass, first and second, is just 6 seconds. 2:05 for Baker on that last lap. This seems to be where Van der Linden really closes the gap. It's through the S's. Gap's about 0.4 of a second here. Brendan Jarrett asking on the YouTube chat, is this a game or real life? It is iRacing. Maybe forgiven for thinking it's real life with some of the racing that we've seen here today. And behind the trees they go and onto the Conrod straight again. See if Van der Linden can get it done this time. He's 0.4 of a second away as we head down the Conrod straight.
Yeah, he seems to have a lot better straight lines. He's got that slipstream as well, which is going to help him. Maybe that Mercedes just a little bit fast down these straights as he'll get really close into the big. So it's such a big straight here. He looks to the inside, does Van der Linden. Round the outside, he goes off the Ferrari. He's going to have the inside for the next part, but Phillips just carried enough speed through. Now, maybe into the final corner could be an opportunity. Would he try to go for the dummy once again? This time, defending the inside is the Ferrari driver. If anything, maybe Van der Linden just getting close through this part of the circuit. Maybe line it up for turn 2. He looks to the inside into turn 1, but it's not an opportunity. He is going to have to go for it though because he missed his braking point and fortunately didn't make contact with Dion Phillips. But this one is not over. This is going to carry on right to the checkered flag.
Close battle between these two and just 12 minutes or so to go to decide it. Josh Rayfield might have been in some sort of difficulty here. Here's a replay of the Northern Lights Racing GT Omega car coming to grief through the final corner, is it? Runs very wide and is going to slam into the inside wall on the exit, the final corner. Unfortunately, he's just missed the pit lane, so that is, he didn't tow back to the pits either in the end, probably because he knew that fact. It's probably quicker to drive around the circuit than tow back to the pits, otherwise he's going to be really in trouble. And it looks remarkably as if there hasn't been too much damage to the Mercedes-Benz there, so he's carrying on. He's in 21st place. He's 2 laps behind the leader, but it looks like the car is going to get to the checkered flag as long as he doesn't crash the car again. Phillips. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, hopefully we see a couple of drivers who maybe have had issues earlier on in the race come back out onto the circuit. I certainly remember one of the people watching the YouTube, William Bush is going to be crossing the line later on, despite having plenty of issues. It's always good to take the checkered flag. Phillips just extending that lead a little bit now, 0.8 of a second. After Van der Linden's mistake. He did actually straight away send a message on the text chat saying sorry because he completely missed his braking point, and Phillips did pretty well to avoid him in the end. But he is starting to close back in now, down to half a second. And down this part of the circuit, down these long straights, it's just a case of closing as the slipstream effect really does help him close in.
Stint length for you there, shows which drivers took their time to come into the pits. Dave Baker spent 29 laps on his first stint. you can all see how this has worked in terms of when the drivers have come in. They've all come in towards the latter stages of the race. And you can all see the positions they've gained during it. Kobe Class getting 4 places since the start. Biggest mover out of the top 5, definitely. Jose Borges, top 7 I should say, is Jose Borges getting 15 places during the race. Now up in 7th place with 10 minutes to go. Still no sign of that sunlight, but Van der Linden, oh, nearly hit the wall there. And that's given Phillips some breathing space of about half a second as they go up to the Brock skyline and into the chase again. Down through the...
Yeah. So I was just going to say how it's now 4:30 in the morning, so the sky might turn from a dark black to a very dark navy blue perhaps in the next 10 minutes or so that we've got remaining in this race. Van der Linden is closer than he was on the last lap. He was 0.8 of a second behind. He's now 0.4 of a second behind. And you know what? You can see that gap really closing in. I don't think he's going to be close enough for a move maybe into the left-hander, although he is really closing in rapidly. Maybe he's getting into the rev limiter as they break for this next one. Van der Linden's going to try it. He tried this a couple of laps ago. It didn't work out for him, and he's trying to get the cutback this time. Maybe the last corner is going to be his best chance. This is where he's had his best opportunities so far. He looks to the outside. There's no room on the inside, but there's just nothing you can do from that position. So it's such a narrow circuit and just not quite getting the drive out of the final corner in order to make an attack right at the start of lap 41.
Fantastic scrap this. For 4th place, you can see the brake discs glowing on Atomic Motorsports, Marcel van der Linden. They've got that Sergio Souza that they're coming up to lap right in front of us there in his Mercedes. But look at this, van der Linden going to the outside. Phillips might not have a hope here. He's going to go back up the inside though, the Ferrari. Phillips fantastic on the brakes. And van der Linden has to slot back into 5th place again. Fantastic racing between these guys, even though this is just a one-off 90-minute race. They're fighting as if a championship is on the line here. Dave Baker looks set to be crowned King of the Mountain here. He is 7 seconds ahead of Kobe Class with 8 minutes to go as Phillips runs right up to the wall, going through the cutting. Towards, oh, he's in the wall again. Fortunately, he hit it square on, so I don't think he's going to have knocked the toe out or anything. Hasn't, definitely not slowed him down in terms of any pace. Gap remains 0.3 of a second between them as we fly down the S's again.
He just needs to get within about 0.4 of a second coming onto the back straight. It's currently 4.5 of a second. That's how difficult it is. It's just so difficult to follow the other driver around this part of the circuit. As they exit now, it's a really good launch for him. 3.5 of a second, maybe even 0.3 of a second. There's not much that Dion Phillips is going to be able to do, I think, this time, because I think his rival is going to easily pull alongside him. Which way will he go? Will he go inside, outside? The outside, of course, turns into the inside. And now he will have the outside for the left-hander. Almost contact between the two of them. Van der Linden has got it done though. And that is a move which has taken him about 25 minutes. And it may just have been undone in the matter of 25 seconds. But he is still ahead. And well, seemingly that P4 is his.
Oh, well, Phillips having a little look at the inside there as we come across the line. 6 minutes and 10 seconds or so to go here at Bathurst. Bit of a throwback for people watching the actual 12 hours of Bathurst. Jamie Wink up in a Vodafone t-shirt, Vodafone cap on, back in the day of when Red Bull Racing, as they're now known in the V8 Supercars, was sponsored by them. But it's the battle for 4th. Van der Linden versus Phillips. Phillips looking to the inside. We saw how good he was on the brakes there earlier on. Trying to work out the number system on the windscreen, because Marcel van der Linden is definitely not in 3rd place. And
it's per car.
Ah, right.
It's annoying that, because I did set it to car class, which was GT3. But unfortunately, of course, just by default, all these, in every series that we do, they always have a per car model instead of class. So bit annoying, but at least it tells you whereabouts how each car manufacturer is doing.
Yeah, can see then that Dettige is the second Mercedes, and who we're looking at here, Marcel van der Linden. That's why he's got the number 3 on his car. He's the 3rd highest Mercedes in the field, and you can see there, not a Ferrari in sight in the top 20 anyway. Dion Phillips flying the flag for the Maranello team, or the Maranello mark I should say. Ross Nicholson's just gone off the circuit, so he's back on it again as we go into the chase. See if Dion Phillips this time can get an overtake done. He's 0.2 of a second away, but he's really going to have to lunge it up the inside. He's going to have to send it almost to try and get by there, but no way through.
He was really struggling down the straights there, was Phillips, because on previous laps, I think Van der Linden has eased alongside from about 0.4 of a second back, as this might be the end of the battle, because Phillips having to go very wide past the Porsche, and well, that's dropped him now a second behind. So it's been a nice battle whilst it lasted, with 4 minutes to go. That should be job done for Marcel van der Linden, as long as he doesn't make a mistake. Of course, he hasn't got used to driving into the dark without a car in front of him. He's been stuck behind Dion Phillips for such a long period of time, so he could make a mistake potentially, but right now 1.2 seconds looking good for him. Out in the lead, Dave Baker 5.5 seconds ahead, so it has gone down a little bit, but just that mistake earlier on from Cobra Class, I don't know if you remember, and where I think he set a 2:06, lost about 3 seconds on a single lap time. Before that, he had all the momentum, was closing it down to within about 3 seconds, and that just kind of stopped it, took the pressure off Baker, and since then he's been quite relaxed in P1.
And in the Porsche class as well, Raoul Huben hasn't had too much to worry about here for a while. He's got a 39-second advantage over Jody Wilkins, who we saw getting laps by both van der Linden and Phillips on the previous lap. There is Dave Baker there. He's not too far up the road in comparison to the Porsche. Baker has lapped up to 9th place now. Peter Growls, who is just coming out the first corner there, so we'll see if they can get to him before we get to the checkered flag. No sign of any sunrise yet as Kobe Class went off at the final corner. He's come back on again. Doesn't look like he's hit anything, but momentary lapse there for Kobe.
Yeah, 5:30 in the morning now. Of course, the end of this race will be when it was supposed to start. But unfortunately, of course, a mistake with the AM/PM, which has caused a different event, but it's caused a different race, of course. And of course, any drivers watching this back, I do apologise. I'll certainly send a message to all the drivers later on, because it would have been good to have this in the daytime. Would have been a little bit easier on the drivers. And of course, this is certainly what they prepared for, and what they will have to race in the 12-hour special events next weekend. But of course, once you do 1.5 hours during the night around Bathurst, I imagine 12 hours in the day doesn't seem quite so daunting.
Shades of Sebring, the Sebring 12 hours, that starts in the day and ends at night. Here is Pedro Braganza. This is going into Murray's. He spins. Is he going to get hit by anybody? No, he doesn't. It shows us him crashing, but I think it was because his speed dipped below a certain amount, and that is why it's being shown as crash. But he's carried on. He's in 12th place, one of the few GT3s to make it to the end, as Dave Baker is on his way to the chase, and will be getting the white flag when he gets to the line as he flies through the chase. Now 6 seconds is the gap between him and Kobe Class. There's a few cars that have been in the pits for a while serving repairs are coming back out onto the circuit. Sam Kumo's back out on the circuit. In fact, our Apex colleague that does many of the things you don't see on a broadcast, such as doing the cameras and setting up these streams, is doing well. Oh no, was Robbie Carenduff has just come into the pits for a second time. Either hasn't put enough fuel in or something of the sort, because he's now had to come back out again. He is going to be 13th, and it's going to be the last GT3 car that hasn't been involved in any incidents during the race, as he comes back down the mountain straight on the final lap.
Yeah, lost out positions to Braganza and Pedruzzi, who are in a pretty tight battle right at the end of this one. I think we'll pay our attention to Dave Baker from now to the end of the race. Now 5.5 seconds ahead. And of course, got a little bit of traffic just in front of him. But
oh, there is the sunlight.
Really, I didn't see. Well, I didn't even see that. But here we go. I don't think it's going to be quite enough sunlight to properly appreciate his livery across the line. But there you go. It's there you go. A little bit of orange in the distance. A dark navy blue, like I said a few minutes ago. And he's really cruising at this point, not even closing in on those lapped cars just ahead. He doesn't need to do too much as the sun comes up at Bathurst, at Mount Panorama. You can really notice it now. And just got a few more corners to execute, and well, this will be a very satisfying race win, I'm sure, for him.
Well, these two aren't helping, especially an Audi that's blinking in and out. Of course, on another game, nighttime, you'd be well known for seeing a certain character flashing about if you're like into Minecraft. But going through the final few corners, Dave Baker has survived the night terrors around Bathurst, even though he probably wasn't expecting to deal with them. But he's coming through now in car 6, just as the sun is starting to slowly appear. You can see the reflections on the car. He is set to come into the final corner. Checker flags at the ready, and Dave Baker is going to come through Murray's and take victory here in the Bathurst 90 here on Apex Racing TV at Mount Panorama. Dave Baker wins. Kobe Class is going to come through and finish in 2nd place in the end, and Matthias Dettige is going to come through and finish on the podium. Once he comes across the line, we'll see how our Porsches have finished. It's been a great job by Raoul Huben in the Positive Energy racing car. He's not been troubled really since his teammate fell by the wayside. Here comes Matthias Dettige in the Sim Racers World Car. The Belgian comes across the line and set the final spot on the podium. And Raoul Huben looks like he's already crossed the line. The Porsche claims victory here in the class. Jody Wilkins is going to come through and take 2nd spot in the No Nonsense racing car, with Sam Kumo, despite crashing and losing 6 laps due to crashing at the S's, is going to come across the line and take the final spot in the podium. It's just about going to be classified as Wilkins comes across the line now, takes the runners-up spot. There's a new day springs here at Bathurst. Sam Kumo has already crossed the line. Look at the damage on that Apex Racing UK car for the Finn. I don't know whether he might have just served the required repairs and has screwed the optional ones, and he's going to finish on the podium.
I don't know if they just collected all the parts that are missing in that car and just put it into the back of that car, but if not, I think it's probably quite severely underweight currently, because there's only about half of it left. Peter Growls will be the last. It won't be the last driver across the line, I think. I'm not quite sure.
These are the last 2 cars.
Oh, this is pretty close. Petrucci has been overtaken. No, he's trying to get past Briganska, who did make that mistake a couple of 1 lap ago. Is there any opportunity for the Audi right to the line? I don't think there is. Pedro is going to be able to hold on to this one. Oh, he's almost a little bit out of shape, but across the line he comes and just about holds on to it. And I think that's everyone across the line now. A nice little battle right at the end between those 2 drivers.
Good job there, and Petrucci, the last car on the lead lap in the Audi. So, yeah, tricky in the dark, but Dave Baker and the Porsche there of Holborn have mastered it, and we'll get the finishing results on the screen now. It says, let me just get rid of all this. Here we go. Race victory then for Dave Baker here in the Bathurst 90 minutes. Clayson 2nd, and 3rd is Matthias Dettige. 3rd is 4th is Van der Linden. 5th is Dion Phillips. There we go. 6th is Percy Corolainen, then Jose Borges, Pat Gallo in 8th, Peter Growls in 9th, and Sergio Souza in 10th. Pedro Braganza finishing in 11th, with Pete Petrucci finishing just behind him in 12th. And then we've got Robbie Karen Duff, the Team Scotland car, pitting late on for some extra fuel. Stuart Musselwhite 8 laps down. Perkis 15th, 16th for Ross Nicholson. Mark Dial 11 laps down. Josh Rayfield 11 laps down as well. Moving on is Sergio Souza with William Bush, who crashed again towards the end of the race. We didn't get a replay of that. We might get that up again before we go. Paolo Martins, 29 laps down. Anna McNally, Ben Galite, Ben Mears, Brian Lyons, then John Roberts, Muller, Dave Clements out early on as well as Bob Boland. Those two were at the front of the field before they had their various calamities. So too Dave Janssen. All three of them were inside the top 5 before they all came to strife. Over to the Porsche class then. Robbie Carenduff is in a Porsche. I should mention that. But Raoul Hubin takes the victory there for Positive Energy Racing. Second for Jody Wilkins. Sam Kumo finishing on the podium. And then cars that had issues during the race. Barry Aarons, Marco Barbanera, 2 issues. Crashed at the cutting. And then had a bit of a moment where he was trying to look at JRT timing. Then it was Cedric Bolland, Jamie Fluke. No fault of his own there. John Manley in the Phantom 71 car. And Lee Demo and Michael Blake all having issues at the very start of the race in what was a pretty entertaining race, even if it was through the night. Well, we do have our race winner, Dave Baker, waiting to talk to us. So we will get him into the commentary box and we will see how the CQR driver found his evening, especially when he thought he was going to be racing during the day. He was racing during the night. Don't worry, Dave. Sam's already taken responsibility for that, but you might not have been expecting it, but well done. Well done to make it through the night and take the victory here.
Thanks, Adam. That was incredibly tough. Driving through the night here is not fun. It's probably the toughest race I've done, and you've commentated on races where I've been surrounded by cars, 3 wide, 20 rows. They were a cakewalk compared to this.
Well, you managed to make it look like you weren't struggling out there. You, in fact, if anything, you were going quicker as the night went on. Was the car getting better when the sun finally set and the night time came?
The car could have gone easily, I reckon, a second quicker had this driver been a little braver over the mountain and stuff. But I think it was a case of win the race at the slowest speed possible, rather than push it and end up in the wall. So it was just kind of managing the gap to the guys behind. But traffic played its part and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just glad to be finished, really.
Obviously, no World GT Championship this week, but good opportunity for you to get back behind the wheel of the car and put it through its paces.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've driven the Mercedes, and to be fair, the guys have done a really good job. The setup's amazing, and so hopefully we'll have some good luck when it comes down to the 12 hours as well, which I think is next week or a week or two's time. So yeah, this was a nice little warm up with a curveball as well, thanks to Sam.
Well, before we go, before we let you go, Dave, do you want to send a quick shout out to anybody?
As usual, shout out to the team and everybody at CQR who help set the cars up, do all the practice laps, and support us during the races. You guys for the broadcast and organising this one-off race as well, and the drivers that turned up and managed to make it through.
Brilliant. Well, well done on the win today, even if it was just a one-off event. And blame Sam for the day to night transition. I'm sure it will have given.
Yeah, I'll blame Sam for that, but I can say to Paul Smith, I've won a race at Bathurst too now, so it's all good.
Yeah, you could also it gives you great experience for the half an hour or so that will be racing in a bit of in darkness for when the actual 12 hours comes along. So
somebody else can do that. I've done my stint.
There you go. Yeah, I bet you can give your brain a bit of some free time now. But yeah, thanks. Well done on the win today, Dave, and yeah, thanks as always for coming and speaking to us.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Dave Baker there. We do have Sam Kumo waiting to talk to us in the interview room. We'll bring him up now. Sam, a podium finish for you. You were 6 laps behind, obviously, the second place man in the Porsche class, but you had a big crash down at the S's.
Yeah, otherwise, hello guys. Otherwise it was pretty fun, apart from the crash, obviously. That's what you get when you start to do some fuel calculations in the middle of the mountain section.
Oh.
But I'm just wondering, where did all the Porsches go? Because, I mean, you wouldn't expect to finish third with 6 minutes of repairs.
Well, we can get the Porsches up, I think. There we go. Yeah, Michael Blake and Lee Deemer both 40 and 41 laps down. Jamie Fluke crashed when John Roberts reversed back out onto the circuit on the exit of turn 2. That was interesting. Marco Barbanera was almost was multitasking more than you. I think he was trying to get onto JRT timing down the Conrod Straight and crashed out, which leaves just Bobby Aarons, but I think he crashed out as well, hence why he finished 15 laps down. So that's why you managed to make it through to the end, and even though you were 6 laps down, you were able to go on the podium.
Yep, I mean, it was really fun. And I don't know, like, whose great idea it was to have it from basically night race, but that was great. More of that, please.
There you go.
Oh,
Vindication.
it was deliberate.
Yeah.
It was deliberate. Not
yeah.
a playful mistake. No way.
Yeah, certainly.
How's the Porsche out there? Obviously, Sam, I know you know the car well from a few years ago when we did the BSR Porsche Cup, but yeah, racing during the night, how was it?
Yeah, I mean, it was all right. I've not done much practice for it this week, but I was really struggling with the grip and handling. But during the qualifier, I just tested some random settings, and suddenly it was like twice as much better. And then it was just much easier to handle during the race.
Yeah, was the setup? Did the setup work well, even though it was you were racing at night?
Yeah, I mean, really no issues with the setup. I think it's just my driving that was maybe causing the issues and slow lap times. But I mean, I got used to it, and it was really just fine.
Well, I know you work for us, but do you want to send a quick shout out to anybody?
Well, shout out to the team, Apex Racing UK, and to you guys for doing the broadcast, which allowed me and Marco to get back on the track for once. So, big thanks for that.
No worries. Yeah, it was good. It was good for us to watch as well. And fortunately, apart from I think muting Sam for Sam Fitzpatrick for the first 10 minutes of the race or something like that, I think it went swimmingly on our end. So yeah, well done on the race today, and yeah, thanks for coming and speaking to us.
Yeah, no problem. See you.
Sam Kumo there, and that pretty much wraps up our coverage here as the sun starts to slowly rise. This is going to be me in real life leaving work tomorrow because I'm covering the Super Bowl shift at work. So yeah, if it goes into overtime, I'll probably be leaving with a very tired smug face on my very tired smug face as everybody's going into work as I'm going home to sleep. So that's me. But yeah, thanks Sam for coming in and covering the race with me for the hour and a half, and yeah, it was a pretty good one out there, even though after many of the cars crashed out, the gaps remained quite close, and we had some decent battles out there.
Yeah, there was certainly no point where we were bored in the commentary booth. There was always a couple of battles going on, which was great fun, and hopefully we'll do more of these races, certainly maybe for the special events in particular. These races are genuinely quite a useful resource, and hopefully we'll get the time of day correct next time, which will make it even more useful. But certainly Sebring is a potential. Maybe even if there's a new circuit or during week 13, we could certainly host something. And, you know, if you've got any ideas for one-off special events for us, you know, just let us know. Contact us via our Facebook page. Send a direct message to us or something. And yeah, of course, well done to Dave Baker and Roll Huben as well. They were error-free, which was pretty remarkable because I fully, you know, respect David there for saying how, you know, how difficult it was. He didn't make it look as difficult as it really was out there, but was some effort from the drivers who managed to finish in the end.
Great. Well, if you're new to Apex Racing TV for the first time today, make sure to give us a like and a subscribe as well. Make sure you turn on your post notifications as well, so when we go live, you will know about it. And we have got some good action this week. Obviously, no World GT, but we do have the Ritmatech Sports Car Series in the middle of the night on Monday, plus the usual action. We've got Mazdas on Monday as well, and Mazdas on Tuesday, ILMS as well on Wednesday, and double action on Thursday with Sim Racers World GT and the BSR Winter Series and more. So make sure you can join us for all of that. But we will say a good day or good night to you from here at Bathurst, Mount Panorama Bathurst, from me and Sam, and we'll hope to see you again soon. Good night.